welcome back to Chatting with Beauty Spot. Today, we will be discussing the Family Chantel. I'm late, but I don't care. We are already on season 3. We are in episode 8. And just to give you a little background, Chantel and Pedro met on, I believe it was 90 Day Fiance. Anyway, they got married. They live here in Atlanta. And both of their families are a hot mess. Chantel's family truly gave Pedro a hard time. In fact, he had even gotten to a fight with River. I think it was the first season of this show where they were fighting at Thanksgiving. Basically, Pedro whooped River's ass. And they didn't talk for a long time. The whole family didn't speak about it. And Pedro's family in the Dominican Republic could not stand Chantel, still can't really stand Chantel, but are hoping that when Chantel and Pedro buy a house, they can come on over here. Now, Chantel's sister Winter goes with this dude named Ja. Now, as of this date, they had been together for 7 years, and Winter was taking care of Ja's daughter, helping him with his daughter and everything. And it was a number of years that they were together when Chantel and her mom Karen decided to have a private investigator investigate Ja, because they did not trust him and they thought that maybe it was something that he was hiding from his past. And sure enough, they found out he had a whole nother child that he did not tell Winter about. So they was pissed about that. Winter and Ja ended up breaking up for a while. Winter moved back home with her parents. Now, the start of this season, Winter and Ja had gotten back together. She decided to forgive him for not telling her everything while they were together. Also, this season, Pedro is more curious about his father's side of the family, their whereabouts, and why his dad left him and his sister Nicole. They are going to get into that this season. Well, they've already started getting into it. Now, Pedro's sister Nicole has a boyfriend in New York who is Dominican. His name is Alejandro. Come to find out, Alejandro is married already, but they are supposed to be going through a divorce, and Pedro and Pedro's mom are not feeling that situation. As a matter of fact, a couple of episodes ago, Pedro and Alejandro actually got into a fight outside in New York over this whole situation, and he was basically like, F you, F your mama, basically, y'all ain't had nothing to do with me and Nicole, and y'all need to stay out of our business. And Pedro wasn't having it. Said he was not good enough for Nicole, yada, 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 won't. They fought in the streets outside of some little restaurant in New York. And Pedro told his sister about it. And she was like, well, it doesn't matter because I found out Alejandro was talking to somebody else online and we broke up. But we find out later that she was lying. Her and Alejandro are still together. She just does not want Pedro and their mama to be all up in her and Alejandro's business. So now we could pick up with this episode, which is episode 8. So we start with Chantel and her mom are going to meet River's girlfriend. River has, which is, Chantel's brother. River has never introduced a female to his family. He knows his family is crazy, but he knows that this is getting serious, and he wants to go ahead and introduce Megan to the family. So they decide to meet them at a restaurant. Well, Megan decides to meet up with them at a restaurant, and she gets there, and they're asking some questions, and they're cool, and they were actually pretty light on Megan. And Megan lets them know that she does have a child. And they were like, oh, you have a son already? And Chantel is like, she asked them how they felt about it. And Chantel was like, well, the only thing is if the other party gets really close with your child and it does not work out, like, how do you feel about that? And she goes, I don't have any children, but I always thought it best to not introduce your child until you're like a year into seeing somebody. And Megan was basically like, I won't put a time limit on it, but if it's right when it's right. So I'll introduce him when I feel it's right to do. And they were like, okay. But they didn't go in on her too deep the way they went in on Pedro and the way they went in on Ja. They didn't do River's girlfriend the way they did those other people. And Megan basically said that her and River are taking things, one day at a time. So, after she said that, they was basically like, peace out. When they got in the car, well, Chantel was basically like, I think River is more into her than she is into him, and he's a lot more serious than she is. And I could see that, because she's like, they are in two different stages in their life, and I don't think River is there yet. But she didn't want to say nothing to River. River has never introduced them to anybody, and they were just kind of quiet when it came to that. But she don't think River is ready for this chick. They don't think she's ready yet. He's ready at all. But yeah, they definitely didn't go hard on her. So now we move on to the DR, because Pedro has gone home to the Dominican Republic because he wants to dig up dirt on his father and why he was not there, why he didn't have anything to do with them being raised or anything like that. So he gets there. Nicole is still pissed at Pedro for fighting with Alejandro. She picks him up from the airport, but they still pissed. They argue in the car and whatnot. But they decide to all go to Pedro's grandmother's house. Now they get to Pedro's grandmother's house, and Nicole's still pissed at Pedro and their mom. On the way to the grandma's house, they're asking their mom about their dad. And she said that when she met their dad, he said that he was single. And so they started dating. They started dealing with each other. And next thing you know, they have Pedro. She said it wasn't until several months after they had Pedro that he told her he had other children. And then several months after that, he let her know that he was married, but that they were separated. And then eventually he was like, he let her know that him and his wife got back together, and it was what it was. But she said she still wanted to have another child. So yeah, she slept with him some more and got pregnant with Nicole. So now, they upset about it. And, she kind of shut down after that. And she said in her interview that they basically need to get over it. It was the past and they need to move on. And she ain't had nothing else pretty much to say about the whole situation. But they are in the car and they are struggling with the fact that their mama knew he was married with a family. And once she found out, she still went on and slept with that man and had Nicole. And they was like, she does not understand. Nicole was like, my mom does not understand because she grew up with her dad. She does not understand where we're coming from, because we did not grow up with ours. So she is not feeling them, and she is not feeling their line of questioning, and she wants them both to shut the hell up when she ain't got nothing else to say about that whole situation. So then they get to grandma's house, and family is there, cousins, aunts, uncles, stuff like that. And one of the female cousins asked Nicole about Alejandro, And she was like, Alejandro is good. We're good. And her mom was like, he's not a good man. And Pedro posed the question, um, if a man is married but chooses to still have a girlfriend, how can he be a good man? And their grandmother was like, love is crazy. Love makes you do crazy things, and you could get drunk off love. And Nicole says she ain't shamed. She is not shamed because she poses with Alejandro. They stay up on social media. They always posing together. And Alejandro says he's getting divorced, and Nicole don't want to wait until that divorce is final. And if they gonna be together, they gonna be together. And she said, F what y'all say about that. And so Pedro calls Nicole a slut. And, all hell breaks loose for a hot second. And Nicole was like, you crossing the line, Pedro, you crossing the line. And then, Pedro goes on and asks his grandma what she knows about his mother and his father getting together. And she was saying, your mom would be walking to school and he would be riding by. And the mom was like, yeah, he always had all these packages in the car. And Pedro was like, oh, so he had money. That's why you were with him, because he had money. And the grandma's like, yeah, he said anything we needed to let him know. And he'll make sure that we got it. So, yeah, basically, he had the moolah. Pedro asked his grandmother how she felt when she found out that he was already married. And she said it was too late. It wasn't nothing they could do about that. Then she goes on to say that the man she had kids by was married, and what their mama did, and that it's Dominican culture. And of course, this pissed Pedro off. And then they turn around and ask him, is he faithful? Is he a faithful person? And he's like, yeah, I'm faithful. He don't want to be with nobody but Chantel. He don't plan on cheating on Chantel. He not trying to do none of what they did. And, it pissed him off enough that he had to get up and walk away from the table. He's like, because it's a cycle. It's a whole cycle. Grandma did it. My mama did it. Nicole is doing it. And she got this dude that got a wife that he's separated from. And they're trying to tell me it's Dominican culture. When I'm Dominican, that is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to break this cycle. I'm trying to be with my wife and have our kids and raise those kids and not have a whole other family on the side that she don't know about and be doing the damn thing. So he had to walk away. He was in tears. They pissed him off something serious. And he just said he wants to be a good man. He's not trying to do what they do. So now we're back in Atlanta. Ja and Winter get into an argument at their house. And he basically tells Winter, you are not bound here. You do not have to stay here. Basically, you could leave. You could bounce. So Winter gets her stuff. She calls her daddy Thomas and her brother. And they come over there. Thomas and Winter come over to the house and help Winter pack her stuff up and bring her back home. And she's letting them know that her and Ja get to argue, and Ja is asking her how she feels about what's it called, polygamy. And she was like, what? And he asked her how she felt about polygamy. And she asked him, are you trying to be in a polygamous relationship? And he tells her no. But then he keeps going on and on with the conversation, sort of getting animated, and it's pissing her off. And she finally tuned him out. And that's when he just was like, you can leave. You don't have to be here. You're not bound to be here. And then he could go start searching for his next wife. Now they've been together for 7 years. a child she is raising that's not hers, a secret child that she found out about, and you gonna kick her out now because she don't want to be in a polygamous relationship with you, and you just asked her to marry you on the last episode, and she finally said yes to you, and you gonna do all this? Ja is a scrub. He is a whole scrub. And then, so she bounces, she goes home, and after that we are back to the Dominican Republic. Pedro is still pissed and frustrated with his mom. He pissed and frustrated with the grandma, and his mom thinks she could smooth it over by saying, Pedro, breakfast, I cooked breakfast. And he was like, I just want some coffee. But she keeps mentioning breakfast, and he's like, yeah, I see it, but he's still pissed, and he has every right to be pissed, finding all this out about his mom and his grandma and the way things are done in Dominican tradition and whatnot. And Pedro ended up asking his mom, would you have a problem with Alejandro if Alejandro had money? Because Alejandro worked in that cell phone store. And she was like, what money? And he said, exactly. If Alejandro had money, you wouldn't even be tripping off of Nicole being with him. Whether he was married or not, you wouldn't be tripping as long as he had money. And his mama is like, yo, your questions are disrespectful. The way that you have been acting towards me and your grandmother is disrespectful and all that. And she wants him to be done with it and move on. What happened in the past is the past. She didn't really answer the question about Alejandro. If he had money, she probably would not even be tripping off of Nicole being with him. But he doesn't, so she tripping. And the producer asks Pedro, in the past, Chantel has said that his family is users. She basically said, you have a family of users. And he used to always fight her on it. But right now, when the producer asked him, he was like, I'm thinking Chantel was right. Chantel is right, because what they really want to happen is for Pedro and Chantel to go ahead and buy that home with a basement, and they can move over here. They trying to get some green cards to get to the U.S. But they can't stand Chantel. But they know him and her have to be together for so many years, so he can sponsor them to come over here. But they treat Chantel like a dog. I wouldn't be sponsoring a damn thing. They could stay in the Dominican Republic as far as she's concerned. Mm-mm. So yeah. Now we're back in Atlanta. Winter is telling Chantel about the breakup. She was saying that Ja was trying to get her to call him king, and trying to get her to call him king and my lord, and all of this based on old Bible verses. And Chantel was like, that's how they used to talk back then, like my lord and my king and yada yada yada. And Winter was basically like, well, he has not done anything for me to be calling him king or my lord or anything. He's not acted like somebody that needs to be somebody's husband, and I was not gonna go that route with calling him king and my lord and all of that. So they give each other facials, they kicking it. Winter's trying to be, Chantel is trying to be there for her sister and whatnot. Then Winter gets a little ping on the phone, and she said, oh my God, Ja is outside. And Chantel is like, what? She said, yeah, he's outside right now. And Chantel is like, Mom, Dad, uh, Ja is outside. And so, Karen and Thomas come running up to the front. Thomas opens the door, and they like, his ass is parked outside. And River comes up, and they all standing up there, and Chantel was like, go to the back one to just come in this room. You don't even need to be up here. I guess she thought her parents was about to set it off or whatever. But Chantel convinces Winter to call him. Don't go out there, just call him and see what he wants. So Ja is pleading with Winter to come outside. He wants to talk about their relationship. And Winter is pretty much over it. He's like, I want closure. Can you just come outside and talk? I don't want to talk on the phone. And Winter is like, look, I'm not coming outside. We're going to talk on this phone or we're not going to talk. And he was basically saying that he wants closure. And Winter said, look, this is closure. I'm done with this relationship. There's no chance of us getting back together. I'm done. And once she's like, bye, this is it, she hangs up on him. And then of course she starts crying. Chantel's giving her a hug and everything. And they're making sure that Winter is completely done. Karen and Thomas are up in the front. They do their little interview and they're like, I'm proud of the way Winter handled everything on the phone with Ja, and that she is finally done with him. We knew something was wrong with him from jump, but I'm glad that she realizes that something was wrong with him and has finally gotten rid of that fool forever. And it's time for her to move on and see what else there is in life. You got to remember, she's younger than Chantel. The girl is in her 20s. She's been with this fool for 7 years. She hasn't really dated anybody else. So yeah, it's time for her to move on. You got this lying dude with 1 point, with 2 kids, 1 hidden, and you raising a daughter for the past 7 years. It's time for you to be done. The world is your oyster, girl. Now, from your older brother to your older sister, now to your younger brother. Well, your younger brother did stay in the States, but they both have foreign wives and husbands, and it's time to go find you one, whether he's here in Atlanta or whether he's in Timbuktu. Don't nobody care at this point, as long as it is not Ja and that man is here for you. Now, with that being said, we have all caught up on the Family Chantel. I want to go on to my song of the week. And my song of the week for this week, it is Silk Sonic, Fly As Me. Now, I won't lie. They performed it on the Soul Train Awards. They opened the show with it. Now, that is my jam. Now, the very first night I got this Silk Sonic CD, I was in the shower listening to it. Didn't know this song from jump, but when I tell you I was in the shower dancing my butt off, figured out the chorus at least, so I was in there jamming. Now, normally I will give you guys artists that you may not have heard of, may have heard from, but they're not on a national basis because most of the artists I listen to are independent. But not this one. That Flies Me Jam by Silk Sonic. If you have not listened to it, listen to it. It is guaranteed to make you move. It is guaranteed to make you dance, and you will sing the chorus, and you'll be like, girl, thank you, because I ain't even know about this. So until next time, you guys, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you later.